What is going on, Panthers fans? Welcome back here for another episode of Panthers vs. World. It is me, your co-host Chase, here, ready for another round. And just got to give a quick shout out here to everyone listening and supporting. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it. Our producer Joel, shout out to him as always behind the scenes, working everything. He appreciates it too. And Jeremy, my co-host, appreciates it. Jeremy, how are you feeling? Ready for this next round?
Just as your name says, ready for war. This is gonna be war. I'm ready. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
Yeah, I saw one clip today from Sean Avery, and he was just saying how he thinks right off the bat the Rangers should send Matt Rempe at Sam Bennett, have him take the major. Said the Rangers would kill it off. He said because this is going to be a war. The Panthers aren't coming to New York for Broadway. The Rangers better be ready, and I fully agree. Um, not to be looking back now, but in my mind, this was always like when the real test starts. Like if the Panthers fell short of getting to the conference finals, I would have been very, very disappointed. Like I think at this point on, this is where the expectations for this team should be. I mean, I'm not saying if you go out and like get swept here, but like I think at this point on, like this is the real test. Like this is the best team in the Eastern Conference besides the Florida Panthers. I think that Carolina was a very close third, and if they got through, that would have been a very interesting and tough series too. But I think these have been the two best teams in the East all year. The President's Trophy winner. And yeah, I mean, outside of Dallas in the West, I think these are the two best teams in the NHL. Like, if you made an argument for the Panthers, Rangers, or Dallas, I'd have no problem with you saying either one of those three are the best.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've said this so many times already on this podcast, but as I said before, all those three teams I thought had the best depth in the entire league, in the entire playoffs. And I said one of those three teams is going to come out of the East and for the Cup. And as of right now, unless the rulebook changes and the Boston Bruins get a miracle, they will be making it. But it looks like it'll be one of those two teams. I obviously hope that Florida can go ahead and make it, but I mean, all of these teams have a reason why you should probably root for them. Like if you're a team that didn't make the playoffs, or all of them have like a reason for them to root either for or against them. But these two teams that we're going to be seeing are the beasts of the East. They're the reason. There's a reason why they're the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. They're going to go ahead and battle it out and show for it. Both of them have tremendous depth. They both are very physical. New York, especially when they have Rempe, who might not even be playing, and we already know how physical he is, and we already know how physical Florida can get because we already saw how that Boston and Tampa Bay series got. So this is going to be another series. It's going to be another part of the gauntlet that is going to be very hard for the Panthers to beat, but they're going to be up to the challenge, and they can do it. We saw they can beat teams no matter how good they are. We saw all last year. And now we're seeing it again this year, and this is just another step. You have to beat the best teams if you want to win it all. And if they want to win it all, this is one of their last challenges. Then you have the West, and no doubt about it, this is the best team I think that they'll face.
No, that's saying a lot. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think this series is going to be a battle for every inch of ice. And also, I think these are probably two of the best coaches right now in the NHL. Peter Laviolette is amazing. I probably just butchered his name, but I swear I know who he is and just can't pronounce it. But
How did you pronounce it?
Laviolette. I
I
can't
believe it's
pronounce
Peter
any name.
Laviolette.
Yeah, I'll just call him Pete.
It's called Pete. You can't go wrong with that.
But yeah, I mean, just an incredible coach as well, and like a master in the media, like knows how to get his team going. And to be honest, like I think the Matt Rempe sort of thing, just to touch on it real quick, because I you have to. I think it'd be a waste of time for them to play him. He's only going to play like 5 minutes a game, anyways. And I don't think this is going to be like as bad blood like there's not going to be as much hate in this series to start. Like if
These
something were
aren't.
to
I don't
happen,
think these are. I don't think these are. Sorry to.
no,
It's
no,
just the
go.
fact that when you have Boston, you have Tampa. Those are two rivals of Florida. Those were always going to be physical
Yeah,
series, just because they have been rivalries for years. They don't really have any, as you would say, beef with New York necessarily, because that's a team that they haven't really faced as much, and a team that they haven't necessarily had any bad blood between, where it's altercations happening left and right. That never really happened. We've never faced each other in the playoffs. We didn't face them last year. We didn't face them the year before, nor did we face them the year before that. So this is like the first time we're seeing them in a while, and it's also a time where it's actually important now. So I mean, there's no really bad blood, as you were saying.
yeah, I think there can be like I don't think the Panthers necessarily will like start it. Like obviously they're going to do some stuff that's like towing the line or whatever, but like I think if anything is going to kick off the series, it's going to be Jacob Trouba trying to like just decapitate one of our players, and then from there it could turn into what we've seen in the past. It wouldn't shock me if that happens, but I don't think that'd be to the benefit of the Rangers or to the Panthers really for that matter. So like personally, if I was the Rangers, and a Rangers fan, like I don't think I'd go to play Matt Rempe yet. I don't see the purpose of it. Like I said, he's going to play 5 minutes anyways. Like I don't really see what he offers. I think that you have more guys who bring more to the table, and I think when we saw with lineups and the warm ups, not warm ups, excuse me, practices, he wasn't in the quote unquote top four lines, but he could still come in. It wouldn't surprise me, but yeah, I mean, I think this is just going to be a physical series, but also just two teams who, like, at this point, the goal is very close. And yeah, I mean, they're just going to be playing their best hockey. If one of them has to mix it up, both teams are not afraid to mix it up and have plenty of guys who will. But yeah, I think the series isn't going to be won by the bullying or the physicality. I don't think that's what's going to get it done in this series for either team. So, and both teams I think are aware of this. Yeah, I mean, well, we could talk about the keys, what we think the biggest difference makers there, and everything. But yeah, I mean, if you got any thoughts on the series or Boston beating them, let it go, and then we'll just see where this takes us.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and touch the fact that, as we were just talking about before with Matt Rempe, I think for New York's game, I think they're going to go ahead and I don't think they're going to play Rempe at all originally, unless, as is going to happen eventually, he's going to have to get put in the lineup once Florida does get physical, and once if Florida does take over, they're going to put Rempe in the game just because that can change the tide of physicality. He's bigger than anyone Florida has. He can probably crush anyone Florida has. They could easily just use him as a battering ram, just try to get into Florida's head, see if it works or not. I don't know if it would, because it's Florida is a team that you can try to get in their heads, but instead just going to get in yours. Because once you go ahead and try to play their game, they've already gotten in your head. So I don't think putting Rempe in the lineup would be a good move for them. I think it would be a mistake, as I think it would just kind of show weakness, in my opinion. But I mean, it depends on what New York does, because I mean, New York is very deep, so they could easily put him in. I wouldn't necessarily say that would be a bad move either. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of a risky move, but I can see it happening. But going over to the matchup, of course, New York and Florida, two of the best teams in the East. I think another one of you had to face Vasilevsky, then you have to face Swayman, and now you have to face Shesterkin. And this is going to be the hardest one of all of them, because now Shesterkin is probably the best goalie in the league. And you can debate on it for hours of who you think is the best goalie in the league. You have Vasilevsky, of course. You always have Shesterkin. You have Sorokin. You have the guys in the West like Ottinger and all those. But I mean, Shesterkin has the awards. Everyone knows he has the stats. He had a little bit of a rough year to begin the year, and then he kind of really turned it on down the stretch. It's gonna be another really tough battle for Florida to try and go ahead and have to beat a really good goaltender. So these shots that have been happening from like maybe the point, they probably need to start trying getting to get better quality shots off, because even then, Carolina had a lot of really good chances in front of the net, and they could beat Sturkin. So they'll have to figure out something to figure out a way to beat Shesty.
Yeah, I think that is one of the crazier things on the path that the Panthers are probably going to have to take from going from Vasilevsky, who is probably the best goalie in the world the past few years and has accolades to prove it. Then you go to Swayman, who was the hottest goalie in the league, like at the time, like coming the playoffs, he was playing the best hockey of any goalie. And then you go to Shesterkin, who is the next guard, like after Vasilevsky, the one who is primed to just take over the league. And like, this is a series where he's either going to prove it or the Panthers can solve him. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they try to do because he has shown like cracks at time, like what they are. I don't really know, but he's had stretches of poor play. But then I mean, like he has games where he's unbeatable. Like as we saw with Carolina, like it's like it seems like if the Rangers don't score, the game's going to go to like 6-7 overtimes because Shesterkin isn't going to let one in. Yeah, I mean, Bob's gonna have to be up to the test. I think that's another like just interesting storyline. Like, um, both teams have some Russian guys on this team. Bob and Panarin, or I want to say that I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm fairly certain they're very, very, very good friends. I know there's a famous video. If you haven't ever gotten the chance to look this up, it's pretty funny. They're like in wine country in Napa, Italy, or something, just vacationing and just having fun. And Bob like kicks up his leg, similar to when Panarin did when he scored the winning goal in overtime, and Bob like touches the ceiling, and in like a 7-8 foot building, and it just shows how flexible like these guys are. It's absolutely insane. Great watch if you haven't seen it. It's short. But yeah, I believe they're good friends. I wonder if Panarin has any secrets that Bob may have spilled. And then also, I mean, like Bob has now beat Vasilevsky finally. That was a huge hurdle for him as another Russian goalie. And then this is like now just two Russian goalies again. We're going to see the storyline that'll definitely be a talking point. And I hope Bob can. No one's talking about him in this series like to the degree of everyone's giving Shesterkin credit. So be awesome to see him just be as much of a wall in net, which he's going to have to be. While the Rangers aren't going to put up the quantity of shots, I think this is similar to the Boston series where they're going to have low shots of high quality. The difference is that the Rangers have guys who are finishers. They're so skilled and they only need one chance to bury him. Where Boston had the chances, but they missed some like wide open nets. There was a few of them in the series. Rangers aren't going to miss those. If the Panthers, have a fumble, turnover, and it's Ekblad, and they have a chance, they're gonna bury him. And we talked about Ekblad a little bit, but yeah, I mean, just Bob's going to have to be there. Same as last series. He's not going to see a high volume, but he's going to have to answer some really, really high danger shots.
Yeah, I agree. We're probably actually I think we're gonna see probably the best offensive matchup we'll see so far by far. I think Tampa obviously was really good offensively. Boston had a lot of chances that would just come in spurts where they would go quiet for like 15 minutes, then all of a sudden in a matter of 5 minutes they would have 10 shots on goal. And that was really hard for Bob, but he was up to task for those few moments. And now we're going to get a chance. We're going to see one of, as you said, the best finishers in the league. You got Zibanejad, you have Panarin, you have so many guys. You have Lafreniere, who's amazing. You're going to see so many good, talented players over there in New York. And then you're going to be thinking, how do they have this many good players on one team? And it's crazy. And then you're going to look at Florida, and then you're going to how do they have so many physicality and so much scoring on their team? So as we said before, this is the battle of the best teams. They are the best, probably the two best offensive teams in the East, and it's just gonna be so hard. I think it comes down to as well because we've said it. You've criticized Ekblad a lot in the past. He's coming off a little bit of a rough defensive series. He got caught lacking a few times where he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We saw it happen on that breakaway goal against Boston in Game 6, just last game, and you can go ahead and blame the refs all you want. That goal never should have happened in the first place. I'll go ahead and say that. But at the same time, Ekblad should have been covering his man. He wasn't, or not necessarily his man, but he wasn't backing him up. He wasn't backing up Forsling, and I just let poor breakaway Bob all by himself. And Ekblad has to be there, and he wasn't. So Ekblad has to have a better defensive series because as much as we can, dog on him all we want about his offensive ability and how it's been a little bit down the drain a little bit this playoffs, his defensive ability is going to win us games too. And Forsling can't be the only man on that line. So we need Ekblad to go ahead and step up a little bit. And if we have a better Ekblad, is going to help Bob out so much. And we also need to go ahead and see. I do wonder how that fourth line is going to produce because that fourth line did result in some tough chances for Boston in that game six, like that Lomberg line. Maybe it was the fact that they're a little bit rusty because they hadn't played in a real game in like a month. It felt like. So it's gonna be weird how that shapes up, and if they're gonna go have to. If it looks like they're gonna go ahead and keep with the same lines, so if that does continue and they go ahead and they do put him on, you got to hope that Russ is off, or you have to hope that the line does step up because they didn't allow any goals, but they allowed a lot of chances. It felt like, and they got pinned in their own zone on the first exact shift, and it resulted in an Ekblad penalty. And that one, I'm
Good,
not
good
even going to go ahead
penalty
and
to
criticize
take.
Bell.
Great penalty to take.
It was because I mean, as much as we criticize Ekblad a lot for taking penalties, they got pinned in their own zone. They had something
Yeah,
had to happen.
he had to take it. He had to take it, or it would have been a goal.
So yeah, I think both. I think Ekblad has to step up a little bit, and I think that fourth line has to go ahead and shake off that rust and get back in there. And I think it leads with Stenlund just being the anchor that he is because I mean Stenlund's been amazing.
He has. Yeah, just there's so many like key things in this series. Like I think Ekblad, honestly, like I'm not asking him to bring it offensively in the series, but like you got to be on it defensively. I
Yes,
think really that is the biggest like storyline that won't be talked about, but should be like can the Panthers defense and defensive forwards like Reinhardt and Barkov, Selke winner. Congratulations to him, well deserved and dominated the voting. I think he's probably going to be a consistent winner of that award for many many years to come. And then Reinhardt finished fourth in voting, I believe. Just shows how amazing both them are. And I love that Barkov gave full credit to the teammates. Also, yeah.
Barkov retired Bergeron and then took his trophy. Um,
I think that is what's yeah. Definitely, I agree with you
so
there.
sorry, all credit to the legend Bergeron himself. I mean, I've never seen a more dominant forward than him ever, and I don't know if we'll ever see a more dominant forward in our lifetime because oh my god, that guy was amazing. But going back to that word too, my only complaint is Reinhardt should have gotten more first place votes and he didn't. Which I mean, not first place votes necessarily, but I mean, I feel like he should have at least finished in the top three. I think Reinhardt was really good this year too. I mean, people obviously knew how good he was because I mean, he was in the Hart conversation for a little bit of time before he had a little bit of a cold streak, towards in the second half of the season, but his defensive ability is so good. Is honestly is up there with his offensive ability, even though his offensive ability is one of the best in the league. His defensive ability is really good too. So I really would have liked to have gone ahead and seen Reinhardt maybe finish up there in the top three. But just as Paul Marie says, you don't want to give him too much credit because then he's going to ask for more money. So
Yeah, yeah. But this is a series where I think they can earn a lot defensively here. Like I think that to me is what I am most curious to see is how we match up defensively against these guys. Because they're just so talented. Yeah, I mean they have two elite lines. With Kreider's Zibanejad and Panarin. No, I'm sorry, Panarin's on the second line with Trocheck and Lafreniere. Rostovic they have, who they traded for at the deadline, has been on the first line. Those are just two monster lines that when you're at home, I definitely think you can match up Barkov on them. But yeah, I'm curious to see what Maurice has if he tries to match up Stenlin on them. I think I do like the move of Sam Bennett down to the third line. Again, I think this isn't going to be like as like much pushing and shoving after the whistle. And I do think Bennett can like drive his own line come playoff time. And Lundell looked incredible on the second line in the spurts we've seen him. So I do like that move. But yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a true test of how good this defense is, which has been so good all season. And you win the Stalky, and then you turn around, and if you could shut down these guys, you could prove it. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be lower scoring. I don't think you're going to see too many shootouts, even though that is what the Rangers play. And dating back, I almost want to say 2 years now. I may be not 100% correct, but Panthers Rangers games, like, they have been seven or more goals. Um, I want to say like eight in a row or something. I mean, there haven't been any in the playoffs, but regular season matchups, and the two, either the, I want to say the final two, but definitely the last game that went to overtime in the regular season, that was like a playoff atmosphere. The
Yeah.
intensity was there. So yeah, I mean, this can be something. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I really have to say as far as defense goes. Yeah, I mean, Ekblad, I think he did step up after that first game, but like, it seems to me that there's like been one game a series where he's just like had some just unforgivable mistakes that have gone unpunished, and I don't think that you could keep getting away with that. And in this series specifically, will be when you get punished.
Yeah, I would go ahead and say that. Man, the playoff atmosphere as you're referring to is so true. I mean, that last game in MSG where we lost in the shootout was amazing. There's no point in arguing about it because I mean there's still a lot of controversial calls from that game that happened, especially in the shootout when Panarin arguably went backwards, and that was a big
I
thing at the
forgot
time.
that happened.
Uh, New York fans might have forgotten about it, but we didn't. But I will go ahead and say that this is going to be such a good series. I mean, just looking at that game, and even if you look at the other game when Barkov had an incredible goal where he juggled the puck and got it to Reinhart, that even that game, if you remember the Lomberg game winner in the third, that one looked like it was going to go to overtime before Lomberg had a little bit of a forgive me goal, just floated on net and beat Shesterkin somehow. Even that game, that was an incredible game too, because even that one was back and forth. So between that game, then you had that one. I feel like the ones that happen at home ice in Florida were a little bit more forgettable, but I mean those two games were both amazing, and we're gonna see again another two more games here at MSG to start off games 1 and 2. Hopefully, those are the only two games at MSG because we're gonna sweep hopefully. But uh, let's go ahead and just continue this playoff atmosphere because we won. We honestly could have won both of those games. Even that last game that we played New York, we weren't healthy. We didn't. I don't think we had Ekblad, and I don't remember who else we were missing, but we were missing someone else that game too, and we
I
still
think
brought it all the way to
Verhage.
shootout. Was it
If it
Verhage?
was towards the end of the season, it would have been. I don't remember either, but he did miss time at the end of the season. I
He
remember.
did. He missed some time. I know Kachuk missed some time. I know Barkov missed some time at one point. So I'm not really too sure who was that had who was injured, but I mean we went over so many injuries back then. So uh, we're probably going to go ahead. We're finally going to go ahead and see these two teams at their healthiest, and even then we still have injuries from both teams. I'm sure with Bennett, and I'm sure we see a couple New York injuries. But this is probably the best that we're going to see them. So these are two. This is David versus Goliath here. I can't imagine how brutal the series is going to be.
Yeah, I think then also to kind of talk about the Cousins Lomberg like being slotted in. I don't think this is a great series for Nick Cousins, who's typically a guy who kind of like hangs around on the perimeter and just shoots like from the blue line. Like you said earlier, that is not how you're going to beat Shesterkin. And then second of all, they have some pretty quick defensemen who are long and big, and they could just poke check and then have a breakaway here. I worry about that. That was something that I will be watching out for, and then as well, while Lomberg is so still physical and brings the physicality, is going to hit you, is going to do all this. Still small, like and these are like 6'5" defensemen and everything. So, again, personally, this would be my choice. I would have switched it up. I thought Lawrence and Okposo were playing great. And I think another cool wrinkle to Okposo is like in a jam, if someone has to go to the locker room for a little bit, you can put him on any line and he'll be fine. So, yeah, I mean, that's who I would go with, but it doesn't look like they are. I'm not a coach for a reason. I don't know what they're seeing. But yeah, I mean, I trust them at this point. We've gotten this far 2 years in a row now. There's no reason to continue to doubt this team. One final thing I'll say, and I'll kick it over to you, is like the Panthers fans are very shoot happy. Um, I wish we'd stop doing that and just trust these guys. Like again, at this point, like what has this team shown you in the past 4 years now, going on from dating back to when they were, up and coming, playing the Lightning and coming back in regular season games and, just never quit attitude. Like, what hasn't this team showed you that you just give them the benefit of the doubt at this point? They've earned nine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so going back to what you were saying about Opozo, I would completely go ahead and say to slot him in there. I trust him a lot more than I trust Nick Cousins. I've been critical of Nick Cousins in the past. Obviously, I've said that many times, but Opozo has shown so much during these last two series, really, dating back to when he first made an appearance against Tampa, when he filled in for Lomberg, I believe, but or whoever it was, when Opozo was able to slot in there, he played a really good game. He was solid, and then against Boston, he appeared for 5 of the games, and every single time I thought he was really impressive. He held his own, and for someone who's in his later 30s, that's really impressive for a veteran forward who was able to keep up with everyone. And of course, he had that little bit of a mistake kind of when he had the puck right in front of the net and he just couldn't get to it. But even then, that's not his fault. That was just came out of nowhere, got to him. And but you can go ahead and say, oh, maybe like a 20-year-old go pose gets that puck, whatever. But that's not necessarily his fault. The puck just came right in front of the net. Not many players making that play, anyways. Swayman was really on his game too. I don't know if that was even a play that one of the losses the game or not, but I thought, to me, Opozo was very impressive. I really didn't like that they took him out of the lineup in the first place. You could say the same thing for Lawrence, who had a really impressive series too against Boston. So I mean, those two guys in general, I mean, especially Nick Cousins, I don't think this is that great of a series for him, just because of the fact that I felt the same way back when we had to face Carolina, but we had no one else to put in there at the time. We didn't have the depth. Now we do. And I feel like you could go ahead and put in Okoza, and I feel like you get a better result. Or Lawrence, I feel like you could get a better result, because I feel like Nick Cousins, I'm fine with. But if you're going to play a physical game, okay. But if you're going to play a game where you're playing to one of the best offensive teams in hockey, you need to make sure you have your best forwards on the ice that will be able to shut down the other line. And I really doubt that Nick Cousins will be able to do that, especially on that fourth line when they've shown in the past that they can get pinned in their own zone. And while they haven't given up a goal technically on 5, they've caused way too many chances, and especially that especially in Game 6. So I mean, that line is going to be really risky, but we know they can hold their own at times. So I'll trust Paul Maurice here, and I'll go ahead and I'll trust him, because I mean, he's gone to this far. There's no reason not to trust him. So I see why he's doing it. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and I think there's two more interesting storylines here, and sort of kind of encapsulate as like our defensive players in this. But yeah, I mean, I think the storyline of Tarasenko and Mikola returning and playing against New York, and then Trocheck and Wenberg for, I don't think I'm missing anyone. Former Panthers playing us. I do always find that stuff interesting, and like the revenge angle and stuff. But like I don't know what I was listening to, but like someone said, like by the time you're like on the ice playing, like that's the furthest thing from your mind. But still gonna be fun. Like I don't quite know like Mikola and the Rangers, like how it went there, because honestly I didn't even know he existed until the Panthers signed him. But yeah, I mean Tarasenko, like I think Rangers fans weren't too happy with that the pickup of Tarasenko. And I think he's not gonna forget it. And I haven't been impressed with him necessarily. I do think he's kind of dealing with something. Like anytime I see him get to the bench, it looks like he's laboring. And he has scored 2 goals so far. I don't think I'm missing if he has assists. Like he's been fine, but a guy of his caliber, you just want a bit more. Like I get he's older and he's not the Tarasenko he once was, but just was a monster for the Blues like during their time in winning a Stanley Cup, and was hoping to see something similar to that. Maybe that was me being a bit ambitious, but man, if we could get that here, like that'd be awesome in this series. And yeah, I think like defensively, um, I think just the Panthers decor is playing well, and they like are blocking shots, are doing all the right things. They're playing as a 5 man unit. The defense is getting into the plays on the rushes, and they're flying around. I think again, Brandon Montour, who had a down regular season, has looked fantastic in the playoffs. And yeah, I mean, you just want him to just continue to just get better. I don't know what exactly the injury status is with everyone. You know, he went to locker room at one point, but he came right back. But last year, I believe he was playing with like a torn labrum or something for the after the Boston series. So if he's healthy, continue to have him just be involved. I think honestly, the two defenses, like the Panthers, while smaller, should have the advantage. Honestly, like I think Truba, for all that he does bring, can just get carried away sometimes. And
I
then,
do honestly kind of see Truba as a little bit of a more offensive minded Radko Gudas. That's kind
yeah,
of how
that's
I
actually a
feel
good way
like.
to put him. But yeah, no. What do you think about the returning players and the defense matchup here? Defensive matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think the defensive matchup, I think it would slightly favor Florida because that's hoping that we do see the best of Ekblad and we see the best of Forsling as we've been. And obviously, I think Nico Mikkola plays a really big part in this too because I feel like he's been really shut down this entire playoffs and for most of the regular season too. I'm a big fan of Nico Mikkola in general, so but I mean, just looking as to from posted by Dom on Twitter, who posts analytics, which is the Athletic. He posts the Florida Panthers are favored 65% to 35%, and the best chance of them would be winning in six at 20%. But nonetheless, the analytics favors us. I believe up for debate. We might have the slight better depth because I feel like both teams have amazing depth in general. I've said that so many times, but I do believe the Panthers have a little bit of a better defensive game. I think the Rangers have a better offensive game. I feel like this is a team that's willing to score. They're able to score whenever they want. We just saw Chris Kreider go off too. So I mean, this is and he's not even one of their. I wouldn't even say he's a top five forward on that team. You got I mean between Panarin, Roslovic, between Trocheck, you got all of them. There's so many good forwards on that Rangers team that can just score whenever they want to. On Florida, you have the same way because you got Chuck and you got Barkov, you got Verhey, you got so many guys. This is a team that is going to go up against them. I think the way you do beat them is just by playing your game, physicality. Because I think you can get in their heads. I don't think you're not going to get in their heads like you were going to against by Boston. But I feel like if this is a series that we could compare to from the last two series that we played, I feel like it's more of a Tampa Bay Lightning series where we're going to see. A, this is to me the 2022 Florida versus Lightning series where we saw two just juggernauts going off against each other. And it's not going to be a sweep. I don't see it possibly being a sweep, but these are two really good offensive teams, and I think Florida has the edge a little bit because I think they're a little bit of a better defensive team than New York is, and that's how I see it.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, look, this is going to be the toughest test yet for sure. I don't think anyone's doubting that. Yeah, I mean, we could just get into X factors, key stuff. Just who you expect to have a big series, all that. Just some picks here, some more fun stuff. I won't be as bold in this as I'm nowhere near the confidence I did that we will beat the Rangers as we will beat Boston. I
Come
think this
on, we
is
want a Rangers, we want a Florida Panthers sweep here. Come on,
no, no,
let's
no,
be
no.
fine.
That I unfortunately I don't think that's happening. But yeah, I mean, look, for me, I think Barkov continue has to continue to reach a new level. It seems like he's like Maurice has put it like that. He finally feels comfortable being himself around the team. Maybe that is it. But I mean, just the swagger that he's like playing with. Like, if you caught that clip of him during practice, like picking up the water bottle, like when have you ever seen Barkov do anything like that? It's like
He's done a
smiling.
little bit of he's become sassy, and this is nice to watch.
Yeah, I mean, like I'd love to see it. I'd love how he's playing. And then just the monster block, with the hand of God was just something else. Um, yeah, I mean, I just
Fantastic play.
Yeah, I know. Everyone was asking him too, and he just kept being like, "Yeah, I'm fine," like and everything. So I was like, "Thank God, all right, he actually is fine." It's not
He
like
was actually
we're saying
lifting up
he's
a
fine.
fake hand. He was actually lifting up a fake hand. That's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
I was waiting for him to like lift up his left hand for it to just be completely missing.
Can you
And
imagine?
I'm okay.
Sorry.
But
So I'm just
wow,
trying to look at something here if I can find it. I'm never gonna be able to find this. All right, fine. I'm finally gonna ask. I've been trying to think for the last like 5 minutes who Kulikov's D pairing is, and it's blanking me. I cannot think of it for the life of me. Who does he play with?
I will. Does he play with Montour?
No, it's Montour and Mikola.
Okay,
Just-
then
And then Ekblad and Forsing, and I just whoever we have, I feel so bad that I can't even think of it.
wait, wait.
If you could do a quick Google search while I stall here, because for the life of me, I've been like going through all the
This is
names.
sad.
I
This is
could
sad
name like
because
all the
I
scratch players, but yeah, like I think the only final thing we'll touch on, and then we'll do the X factors, whatnot, the cliche here. Who is it?
OEL.
Oh yeah, I could not. Yeah, thank God. And oh, he's been incredible. I can't. I would have never ever gotten that. We could have been here for 2 hours if we.
Oliver Ekman Larson, we apologize. We swear we're Panther fans. We swear we love you.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable too. I can't. I hope they could keep him. But like, I was sitting here just like, who is like the parent? Like, is it like a rookie? Like who? Why can I not think of this guy?
I
But
kept on wanting
anyway,
to say. I kept on wanting to say Balinskis. I don't know why.
I could have literally named like Balinskis, Mahura, like the other, like all the healthy scratchers. But like would have never gotten. Oh yeah, I don't
Mark
know why.
Stahl.
Mark Stahl, yeah, it was still Mark Stahl. But yeah. So the final thing I think, and then like I said, we'll talk about that is special teams is going to be incredible in this. I think something that the Panthers brought to the table this year that was noticeable and they elevated a lot from last year was the penalty kill. I think the penalty kill has been a strength of the Panthers this year and has only been better in the playoffs. I really think you saw it in the Lightning series. I'm not going to say that because the Panthers shut down the Bruins power play that this we have this vaunted penalty kill. But I think you did exactly what you should do to a weak power play, and then as you said, this is the best power play that they're going to see. The way these guys pass it, like the Rangers, it's incredible. I think probably short of the Oilers, and maybe I would dare to say it's on par with the Oilers. In terms of pure five guys, like obviously the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl, but yeah, I mean this Rangers power play is so good, and I think the Panthers penalty kill has been a strength. And I think that is really what could win them the series is penalty kill. But on the flip side, the power play has been a weakness now. Going on 3 years in the playoffs, I probably four. I can't think of how it was, and it's frustrated me to no end. And I thought it was possibly going to be a problem here in these playoffs. I think if the Panthers can figure out like how just to get this power play clicking, what they need to do right, then this can be a great series for them. And honestly, like as again cliche as it says, like it really is going to come down to that. I think there is always inherently in sports in general a bias towards the major markets. It's better for TV if the Rangers are in. I don't think they're necessarily like going to the ref saying like, "Oh, you got to call this for the Rangers," but like when there's stuff on the lines, I think that the New Yorks of the world, the LAs of the world, the Boston, Chicago's, etc., just get the benefit. Because bottom line, there's more eyeballs on them, and there's more money to be made when they're having success. I'm not saying off the bat that the Panthers are going to be down and out by the refs. The refs are already winning the series for the Rangers. Nothing like that. But I think there
Don't
is
ask
going
the
to be
Boston Bruins
times.
fans.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They they would never. The refs would never do anything to benefit the city of Boston. Um, but yeah, like I think there's going to be some big time penalty kills that need to be made in this game. And then when you have the power play opportunities that may be few and far between, Not just because you're playing New York or anything, but now it's conference finals. Like everything gets tighter, a lot more gets passed by, gets no not looked at. Make these refs call like only high sticks in delay of games. Like that should be all they're calling. Like don't obviously play as hard as you can, but like don't give them anything to call. And then when you get your chances, you got to capitalize.
Yeah, just going back to the power play, I would go ahead and I agree. I mean, I thought the series against Tampa was all right. I thought the power play was fine. I thought it was I thought it was going to work. It would have worked. But after then we got to the Boston series and then we didn't. And I think it really got concerning after Game Five when in Game Five you had as many power plays as you did and nothing was working. Or actually even Game Four, the power play just didn't work. You look better. You shouldn't look better 5-on-5 than you look on the power play. You shouldn't. And we weren't getting set up at all. The times we were getting set up, it felt like they were on us and we couldn't get open at all. We couldn't get anything going. There were times when we were getting set up and we looked all right, and then we would lose the puck within the first 30 seconds of the power play, get set up, lose it, and then we would try to get set up again. We couldn't. And it was constant just dumping, chasing, dumping, chasing, dumping, chasing. You shouldn't be having to be dumping and chasing on a power play. You're a man up. Get set up and work the paint, work around the lines, work the goalie, get shots off. You shouldn't have to worry about giving up a shorthanded goal when you're playing like that. And yet the team looks worse when they're on a power play. At this point, it's like every team is saying at this point, just decline the power play because they're better 5-on-5, and that is a big issue. And they even look better at times on the penalty kill than look on the power play, and that's a big concern. So the power play is a lot better than that. The players are a lot better than that. I think you might need to get Verhage playing time
I was gonna
more
say,
often. And he might need to get the puck a lot more in the playoffs. I mean, on the left side on the power play than they're giving it to him. But I think we might need to start reducing Reinhardt's time on there. Maybe give Reinhardt a little bit less time with the puck and give more time to Verhage. Because I feel like at this point, Verhage hasn't gotten too many chances. I feel like he did in the regular season. Make sure Barkov can keep on running it, but something's got to happen. Something's got to change. And if it doesn't change, then I'm very worried what the fate of the Panthers would look like, because at this time of year, there's not going to be as many penalties getting called like last series. And when there's not enough bad blood, not enough physicality, that's probably going to be happening. There's not going to be as many power plays, so we might be seeing at most maybe 2 power plays, maybe 3 power plays. So if we're going to be seeing that, then you have to make the most of your advantage. You might need to see like maybe a 30% chance in like a 30% rate in the playoff, not 0%. You have to score. You have to get it going. You have to put pressure on them. At the very most, or at the very least, I mean, get momentum. Because when you're on the power play, you shouldn't be giving any momentum to the other side, and you were. So at the very least, just get momentum if you can't score. Just get something going, because if you can get something going, then eventually one of those is going to cash in.
yeah, I'm like I have ideas of what you would do differently, but like I again, me saying it doesn't really matter. So I would just full heartedly agree with you. Like the chances are going to dry up, and you have to capitalize on the few that are given. Like whatever you've been doing hasn't been working, so please switch it up. It frustrate me if we just keep having these guys in the same positions and trying the same things, and it's not working. So yeah, I mean that's going to be a big key for the Panthers here to have success on special teams, because I believe that the Rangers probably will. I mean, this series can be won and lost there, but for me, I got 2 names that I'll throw. I actually have 3 names. One defenseman and 2 forwards that I'm going to throw out, that I want to see have a big series here. I'm going to go with Barkov. Like I said earlier, I think he's just really shown how he is one of the premier players in the NHL, and he should be on everyone's list of top 10 guys, no doubt, and maybe even higher than that. Um, and I think he's got to continue to prove it, continue to elevate, continue to get better. Secondly, would be Verhage. I think that he's kind of had a quiet by his standards, and he's been fine. Um, playoffs. Like just he isn't scoring the key goals that we're used to seeing from him. So I'd like to see that. And then forward defensively, try OEL is my key. Mikola, I like to see Mikola match the physicality that some of these um, defensemen are going to bring for the Rangers. I think Mikola has to be the one who brings the physicality, and just because he's going to be on the ice, that's probably besides the top pairing, the second most. Kulikov and yeah, actually, I don't know the ice time splits. Maybe I should probably check that before I run my mouth here. But anyways, um, also Kachuk, it's time, dude. Let's let's see the Kachuk we saw from last playoffs. We're close. We're 8 away. We need it. We need everyone. But yeah, those would be my 3.5 guys that I want to see step up. I couldn't stop naming enough guys. But yeah, you got anyone?
Names the entire roster. Uh, I'll go ahead and I'll name my three. I would go ahead and starting off, I would go ahead and my first one you just mentioned on your last one. I would go ahead and say Matthew Tkachuk. He has to step up. He had a goal in game one, looked like he was doing good, and he had 3 assists in one of those games, but he hasn't gotten enough chances created. I feel like he hasn't gotten too many opportunities. He needs to be able to score. He needs to step up. He needs to go ahead and show that he's still the Tkachuk that we know he is. Not that he's not stepping up or not necessarily good, but he needs to go ahead and get on the scoring sheet. He needs to go ahead and just turn those chances into opportunities, into goals, because we need them. And when we have Barkov stepping up, we have other guys stepping up. We don't have Kachuk yet, and we need Kachuk to go ahead and step up for us. And I need to go ahead and my second guy, I need to go ahead and see a better series from Vladdy, who's your daddy, because Tarasenko, we know he's better than this. His games have been a little bit rough to watch. I feel like specifically game four, but um, nonetheless, Tarasenko's been good, but he hasn't stepped up. Again, just like a Chuck, he hasn't scored really. He had that snipe on the power play, and that was kind of it for him. He didn't really do too much after that. So we need to see more from Tarasenko. I feel like he's looked good, but again, we need to see him get those goals. We haven't really seen. I feel like we honestly saw better chances from him during the regular season than we have so far in the playoffs, and he's notoriously known for being a really good playoff performer. So I feel like this could also be a really big series for him, where we could see him score like 3 or 4 goals in it, just go off, have a great series. I think we're seeing it. I think we're going to see it from him. I don't know why, but I really think this is the series where Tarasenko goes ahead and makes a name for himself as a Panther. Um, and my last key, I'm going to go ahead and say Anthony Stolarz. I need to see him be a little bit more loud on the bench. I feel like he's been quiet. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and say Sergei Bobrovsky because um, Bob is going to be facing Shesterkin. He matched up with Swayman. He did good in games 5 and 6. Looked incredible. He matched up against Tampa. Looked incredible against Vasilevsky. And now it's time for him to face Shesterkin. I think I said Shesterkin the first time. I meant Swayman. But now you're facing Shesterkin, and this is going to be probably your best matchup, I would say. So you're going to face the best offense you faced. You're going to face the best team you faced. If your defense lets you down, then you have to. This is a two-step plan here. If your defense lets you down, then you have to be that second, and you have to be back there, and you have to make sure you're in position and you stop the guys they have like Panarin on a breakaway, or Kreider, who's been really good. He's fast, and then you also have to make sure that you don't get beat by your former best friend and Trocheck. So you have to step up. You have to make sure your vision is okay, because it's been very questionable from him this playoffs, especially against the Boston series. So if Bob steps up, I have no reason to think that we would lose this, because if Bob is on, Bob is on, and we saw what happened in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So yeah, I would say Bob is my last key player. So I would go ahead and say it's Chucky. Then I would say it's Tarasenko, and then I would go ahead and say it's Bob.
I think like last thing, and then we'll give predictions here. I think right now for the Panthers, like is where you have to learn from last year that you need to find another gear. Like you got to take your game to the highest level it could be now in these next 2 rounds, because you're this close again, and these are going to be two world class, like the probably the two best teams in the NHL. Spoiler alert: I do not see the Dallas Stars not getting to the finals. Um, that's just my prediction, and I think they're the second best team in the NHL besides the Panthers. I think the Rangers, like I said, very close third. Um, but yeah, I think you got to find another gear like Vegas did last year, and they just put you away at the very end. There, they have the killer instinct at the end, and they smell blood and pounce on it. I think that's what you got to do now. If you're the Panthers, you're close. You got to just elevate your game somehow a little more. Um, and yeah, I think they can do it, and I think they will do it this series. I'm taking the Panthers in 6 games. Close it out on home ice this time. You've learned from your mistakes in the past. I think it's gonna. I don't know. I'm not gonna go exactly what happens tonight, but simple. Split on the road in these first 2 games. Just win one. You don't got to go win the series all at once, but win one, steal home ice, and then go from there. Um, I think that's the biggest key. I'm not saying I don't expect them to win both on the road, but man, if they could win this first game and just put the pressure on this Rangers team, that'd be awesome. I'd really start to. You got me fired up when you were talking about the series, the players stepping up. So yeah, I mean, I'm so pumped up for this series. Like I said, this to me was when the real playoffs start. I expected the Panthers to be here, and I expect them to find a new level. So yeah, Panthers 6 for me. What about you?
I think you're just stealing my predictions here. I also am going to say Panthers in 6 because, again, I we're going to continue to say this. This is the best matchup we're going to see in the East. There's a reason why this is the last This is the Eastern Conference Finals because these are the two best teams in the East. And when you have David versus Goliath, it's not going to be a one way, one team dominates the entire thing. No, it's going to be one team maybe dominates one game, and there's a chance that even though that team dominated, they still lose. And we're going to see this consistently through this, where it's going to become to goaltending and to how good the defense is on point, because one small step, one team loses. And I would go ahead and say Florida in 6 because I think Florida has the edge defensively slightly. It's very small. These are two very good teams. They are so evenly matched. I think Florida has the edge because slightly defensively, I don't think their forwards are better. I think that edge goes to New York. However, I think also the physicality matters a lot, and I think I think New York has more. These are two teams that have a lot of rats too. I mean, you have Truba, you got Rempe, you have Chucky, you have Bennett. I think Florida has more players that are ready to get down and be physical than New York does. So I think this is gonna be very physical, but I think Florida has a slight edge defensively, and I think they have a slight edge on physicality. And we know Bob has a history of just turning it around completely. And there's something telling me that both Tarasenko and Bob are going to go ahead and just have the series of their lives like they did last year in Carolina, minus Tarasenko because he was eliminated already. But I have a really good feeling that Bob's going to have another one of those series. So if he does, I don't even know. It might not even reach 6 games, but I think Florida's going to take it in 6 games because I think they're really good. They're really good, but it's not going to go 5. It's not going to be 4. New York is really good. So this is one of those times where it was like New York and Carolina, where it's probably going to be very low scoring. We're not going to get high scoring games necessarily, probably, and we're especially not going to get any blowouts. So with that being said, Florida in 6 sounds, I think, the best. Just like it said before on the analytics when I was reading it off, but it said 20. I think it just makes sense.
I like I said, I agree with you. And I think that the Panthers can take away something from the first 2 rounds and not being able to close out those games.
They have to.
Yeah,
They have to.
and yeah, I mean we'll be covering it here. I won't get too much further, but yeah, I mean this is going to be a absolute war of a series. High quality hockey here. I expect so. Yeah, from us at Panthers versus the World, we'll be continuing to cover it. And thank you all for the support. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And go, Cats, go.
Bye.